Hello everyone and welcome to another English lesson here with me, Anna English, on this channel English Like a Native. Today we are covering taxis, taking a taxi, all the vocabulary that you will need if you are a taxi driver or if you are taking a taxi. So I'm going to get started straight away. I've made 6 pages worth of notes. And of course, anyone who makes a donation towards this channel, whether it be right now via a super chat, which is the little $ next to the emoji sign, then I will send you the notes, or if you make a donation after the live lesson has finished via the link in the description box, and you can request any of the notes from any of the lessons that you've seen and I will send them to you. So a quick hello to my patrons, hello all over the world, wherever you're watching from. Please do feel free to comment and to talk to each other in the comments, and I will chat to as many of you as I can. But right now, let's get straight into the lesson. So, taxis. There are a number of different ways to describe a taxi. Of course, we have the word taxi. It can also be lengthened to taxi cab, or shortened to just cab. So let's have a look at the pronunciation of that. Taxi, taxi, taxi. Easy. Taxi, and then we have taxi cab, which we don't say very often, or simply cab. So I'm going to get a cab. We use this in Britain as well as in America. I know that cab is an American phrase, used quite a lot in America. I'm going to grab a cab. But we say taxi and cab as much as each other. So taxi, taxi cab, or simply cab. This basically describes a car with a driver who you pay to take you somewhere. Funnily enough, when I was younger, my mum used to say to me often, Anna, I'm not a taxi. I'm not a taxi service. I'm not your taxi driver. Because I'd often say to her, Mum, can you give me a lift here? Mum, when I finished, can you pick me up? Mum, I don't want to walk today. Can you give me a lift? And she'd go, Anna, I'm not a taxi, you know. So, a taxi. So here we go. There are other words that you might hear around taxi. You'd hear a taxi rank. A taxi rank is the location, the place where taxis wait for customers. The place where taxis wait for customers. And you'll normally find a taxi rank in major cities, outside train stations, outside airports. You'll find taxi ranks. You might find them near a bus station. When you have a major bus station in the centre of town, you'll find some form of taxi rank, usually. I don't have a taxi rank near me where I live. I would have to walk for about half an hour to find my nearest taxi rank. Actually, to the train station. The train station is half an hour away, and there is my nearest taxi rank. How far away is your closest taxi rank? All right, what else can we call a taxi? We would call a taxi a mini cab. So we have taxi cab, but you also might hear mini cab. Now, a mini cab is a taxi which may be booked in advance, but it's not licensed to pick up passengers who hail it in the streets. Now, just to clear up, the word to hail is to do this. Taxi! Hello, taxi! So if you're in the street, you haven't booked anything, you haven't called or used an app on your phone to get a taxi, you've just seen a taxi driving past and you're waving it, trying to flag it down. That's another phrase that we use, to flag it down or flag it over, or you hail it. Hello! If you hail it, you are not allowed to hail a minicab. Well, you could try, but a minicab is not allowed to pick you up. So they are taxi drivers who don't have licenses to just pick up people on the streets. So that's a minicab. Minicabs are ones you have to phone and pre-book. You might also hear about a black cab. Now, interestingly, black cabs can be black or red, but these are basically black or red. I'm going to write it here. Black or red taxis. Although I don't see many red ones, to be honest, but mostly black taxis that operating in London, with officially tested and licensed drivers. They can be hailed in the street. And bless you, thank you so much to Ella Jocelyn, thank you so much, darling. You said, hello, Anna. You make me feel much better after I've had a really bad day. Will you do the feedback live stream on Verba? I'm so excited. Oh, bless you, darling. I'm really sorry to hear that you're not feeling great. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's really lovely to have your contribution, and that will go towards helping this channel to grow. So thank you for your contribution. I do hope you feel better. And yes, I am planning to start the feedback in the next few weeks on Verba, and you will definitely be included in that. So you've got that to look forward to. So hopefully you'll feel better very soon. Okay, so black cabs. Black cabs are the iconic cabs that you see in London that you can just flag down or hail. Hello, taxi! But they're normally very expensive. So if you're coming to London, if you have money and money isn't a problem for you, then black cabs are not a problem. But generally, black cabs are expensive in central London. So you may want to look at other options if your budget is quite tight and restricted. What else do we have? Of course, recently, Uber has become very popular. Now, the word Uber has other meanings, but in this context, when we're talking about taxis, an Uber is a special kind of taxi that works under the app Uber. So you have it on your phone and you can book it and order it instantly, and it's anyone can be an Uber driver. I'm sure there's criteria they have to match, but it's normal people with normal cars, and they can be Uber drivers, and Ubers are available in many countries. In fact, let me know in the chat whether Ubers are available in your country. And are you an Uber driver? Do we have any Uber, or in that case, for that matter, any taxi drivers? Do we have any taxi drivers in here today? So, Uber drivers. Yes, they are just taxis that operate using the Uber app. Now, when you're talking about getting a taxi, there are many different verbs we can use. You can say, I'm going to call a taxi. I need to call a taxi. Oh, Ahmed has just made a really good point. You might also see this written. Hang on, let me just copy this one, this format. Paste. A private car. A private car is a privately or a taxi. It's a taxi that operates via a privately owned company. A taxi. Oh, I don't know how to. How would you describe a private car? It's a taxi operating via a private taxi company, I guess. It's just ones that you can phone up. You'll find usually little shop fronts that you can walk into and hire these taxis when they're privately run companies. Right, so we do have some black cab drivers in. Hello, Aliu Lamin is a blah blah car. A blah blah car, is that a typo? But you're a blah blah car. I think that's a black cab driver. Uber exists in Egypt. Fantastic. Uber is available in India. Uber is available in Brazil. I'm just going to bring you back up so you can see my lovely face. Hello. Ubers are available here in Indonesia. Fantastic. And Uber is not. There are not many Ubers in your country, Sky. Remind me which country you're in. Great, fantastic. So, let's carry on. So, verbs talking about taking a ride in a taxi. In fact, I didn't include that one, did I? Ride in a taxi. So, we call a taxi. And basically, calling a taxi is when we're talking about phoning one. So we phone to book. So you phone to book a taxi. So call a taxi. So you might be at a party or a dinner party, or you're about to go out and you say, I'm going to call the taxi. I'm just going to call the taxi. Hello, can I have a taxi, please? So you call a taxi. You can also, in that circumstance, say, get a taxi. I need to get a taxi. Hello, yes, can I please order a taxi? You can also use get a taxi if you're out on the street. You say, I need to get a taxi, so I'm going to go to the taxi rank, or I'll put my hand out and just flag one down on the street. I'm going to get a taxi. So you're at a dinner party. They say, do you want us to call you a taxi? You say, no, it's fine. I'll go and get a taxi. I'll go out and get a taxi. Or do you want a lift? No, no, it's fine. I'm going to get a taxi home. Don't you worry. So we use the verb quite often to get a taxi, which is to phone, book, or hail a taxi. Phone, book, or even pick one up, as in a taxi rank. There we go. You can also take a taxi. So if someone says, how are you getting home? You'd say, I'm going to take a taxi. So that's your mode of transport. I'm taking a taxi. I'm going to take a taxi to the airport. Tell me how you get to work, actually. So you can give me a sentence now, just one sentence. Tell me how you get to work. Do you take the bus? Do you take a taxi? Or do you drive or cycle or walk? Or something even more exotic. Does anyone ride an elephant? Does anyone take a motorbike? So let me know in the comments. We've also talked about this a few times. You can hail a taxi or flag a taxi down. So flag down a taxi. So hail a taxi or flag down a taxi. And this is literally when you're stood on the street and you wave your arm. Wave your arm on the street to stop a taxi. Okay. We can book a taxi, which is exactly the same as what we talked about before, to call a taxi. So you book it, so you call it, or perhaps you've been in a taxi on your way to your destination, and then when whatever's happening has finished, whether it's an event, a party, a meeting, you might have pre-booked with that taxi driver to come and pick you up for the return journey. So pre-book, order previously. We could also, in the same vein, use the word arrange. I've arranged a taxi for you. So normally, if you've ordered it for somebody else, then you could say, "Hello, Mr. Smith. I've arranged your taxi to pick you up at 4 o'clock." Okay, so we use this verb sometimes. Sounds more posh, I think. And then when you're actually in the taxi, you ride the taxi. You ride the taxi. It's the same as take a taxi. I'm taking a taxi ride, or I'm riding the taxi. Okay, we don't use that as often, but you can use that. It's a taxi ride. It's just a taxi ride away. Okay, let's see what we're saying over in the patron Skype chat room. Hello, patrons. How are you? I've got Elandio, Camille, Olga, Eric, Andreas, ciao, hello. In Kazakhstan, you have Uber. You use it often. Oh, interesting. In fact, I use an Uber more than I would use any other type of taxi, I guess because it's more convenient, it's easy to do from your phone, and predominantly it's a little cheaper. So Maria has said, I wish I could ride an elephant, but I take the bus. I can't read your name. Nilufus. Oh, that's a very long name, but you ride a motorbike to the campus. Excellent. Lionel takes the tube. Christian goes to school often by car. You don't need to say a car, you'd say by car. I go by car. And Brinkos walks to work. Horse carts are common in some Indian cities. Fantastic. I love it when I see horses on the roads. Okay, so Let's carry on with these notes. Now we're going to move into general vocabulary that you might use if you are a taxi driver or if you are taking a taxi. By the way, if you're here for the first time, welcome. It's wonderful for you to join us. And do feel free, if you are learning English in general, to press that subscribe button and that bell notification button so that you don't miss any future lessons here with me. I'm trying to release videos around 5 times a week. I'm always listening to your feedback, so hopefully you'll find something here that is useful to you. And if you are enjoying this lesson, please give it a thumb up. Bless. Ella, you just sent me another super chat. Bless you, that is so sweet. And you said, a little off-topic question, can you use the with a long E as in the, like in essence, to emphasize the word that it comes after? A long E, like in the. So we say the, just generally, the, or we say the. And we use the, I see what you mean about emphasis, so take the chair, but we use the only really when the following word starts with a vowel. So the astronaut, the orange, the emphasis, okay? So the with a long E, the is for going before words that begin with a vowel. Does that make sense? Hopefully I've explained that. I have done a video about it as well. If I haven't explained it very well here now, then there is a video. The noise in the background is my lovely housemates trying to make some lunch. So don't worry about it. It will, it will not disturb the lesson, so don't you worry. And if you're lucky, he might come on and wave to you all. Or maybe not. He's feeling a bit shy today. Okay, let's carry on. So we have the vocabulary. We have the word Satnav. I'm sure most of you have heard this before, but if you haven't, Satnav stands for satellite navigation. Have I spelled satellite right? Is it right? Anyone who's good at spelling, tell me, is satellite spelled correctly? Does it have 2 L's? Yes, it does. There we go. Okay, it just looks strange to me then. Satellite navigation system. So basically, most of us have Satnav on our phones if you have a smartphone, or you might have a specific device, especially for navigation. And most taxis in the UK now work via some form of Satnav. It used to be that taxi drivers had to know their way around without Satnav, but nowadays it's just as easy to use a Satnav system. Black cab drivers, it was well known that to be a black cab driver you had to pass a test, and the test was called, I think, the knowledge. They'd have to pass the knowledge test, and that was to know London completely, and London is quite a big city, and they would have to know all the routes, the quickest routes, lots of different variations of each route to get from one place to another. Did you notice the way I said route, by the way? Most of you, if you're learning American English, would say route, but in British English we say route. So American, route, British English, route. Something to be aware of. So that's Satnav. In the old days, of course, we would just use a map, but then you also have a map on your Satnav, and a map is simply the diagram of streets or roads meant for navigating. You might also hear talk of a meter. A meter is a device that will be in some taxis that calculates the fares. So in some taxis you get in and they start the meter and you can see it, and you can see the meter running. So you get the meter running, or you start the meter, and it starts as soon as you get in, the cab sets off, and it will just keep going up and up and up, and you're watching it going, I didn't realise this taxi was going to be so expensive. And then when the taxi stops, he will turn the meter off and tell you how much you owe. In some cases, they don't have a meter, and so there'll be a fixed price. Or like with Ubers, it's automatically estimated with the app. So yes, the meter's running or the meter's ticking. You can use those phrases. The amount of money that you pay for the journey is referred to as the fare. The fare that you have to pay. Sometimes, like I said, there's a fixed price, and this is called a flat fee. a flat fee, or you can use fixed price. Flat fee. Sometimes there might be a fine. This doesn't happen often, but if you damage the vehicle in some way, or I know in London when they're doing their Saturday and Friday night pickups late at night and people have had a bit too much to drink, if they are sick, if they vomit in the car, in the taxi, then they may have to pay a fine, which is to cover the cost of cleaning or fixing the damage. So it's an additional charge or penalty for damage. Like I said, it doesn't happen often. Layla, one of my patrons is asking, how can you join the Skype chat room? You're a new patron. I've closed it down now, Layla, just while we're live, but if you drop me a message quickly on Patreon once this lesson is finished, I will make sure you're added. You've got the link and you're added as soon as this lesson is finished. Okay? So yes, all patrons have the opportunity to join the Skype chat room. So do make sure you message me if you're not already in the chat room, and I'll make sure you're added. So message me on Patreon. Okay, let's carry on. Where were we? We are... okay, so the person who is travelling is called the passenger. 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 The passenger. And the person, of course, who is operating the vehicle is the driver. The driver. The driver and the passengers must wear a seat belt. The seat belt is a strap to protect the occupants of the vehicle. Now, in the UK, it's illegal for anybody in the car not to wear a seat belt. And if you are caught by the police not wearing your seatbelt while the vehicle is in motion, you will be fined. And so it's very important that you wear your seatbelts. Okay, we wouldn't really refer to the passengers as clients. So Jana, I see what you mean. It could be a client, but we never really call someone who takes a taxi a client. They are the passenger. So what is a fake taxi called? There's not a name for a fake taxi. A fake taxi is a fake taxi, I guess. You have to be careful not to get into a fake taxi. So let's carry on. Hugo, the difference between the pronunciation of of root, like the root of a plant, and the way in which you go to a destination, route and route, they're both the same, route and route. In American, it's route and route. The root of a plant and the route which you take. But in British English, they're both the same, route and route. You wear your seatbelt as well. This is really important. The verb for having a seatbelt on is to wear your seatbelt. You don't attach your seatbelt or anything like that. You wear your seatbelt. Make sure you're wearing your seatbelt. Muslim Al-Bayati said, I sent you a message, but you didn't reply to me. Where did you send me a message? Those of you who have been messaging me, whether it be on Facebook, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, you have to be aware that I have over, I don't know, it's got to be like 90,000 followers here, and so you can imagine I get hundreds of messages every day, and so I make sure that I respond always to my patrons because they're supporting this channel in a financial way. They're helping this channel to grow, and so they always get a response. But unfortunately, it's kind of hit and miss as to whether you get responses from me in other areas. I never read my messages on Instagram. I do read the comments, but I never see the actual messages. When I log into my inbox, literally it's got hundreds of messages, and so it's just, if I spend all my time reading messages, I have no time for doing lessons, so I hope you understand. Okay, let's carry on. The boot of the vehicle is the storage area in the back of the vehicle where you put your stuff. Now, in America, this is called the trunk, but in the UK, in Britain, we call it the boot. I'll put it in the boot. Do you have space in the boot? Okay. So then we also may talk about the fuel for the vehicle. and your vehicle may take petrol or diesel. Petrol or diesel, depending on the type of the car. Normally smaller cars take petrol and bigger, more powerful cars and vans and trucks take diesel. And you don't want to mix them up when you're at the petrol station. Oh yes, in America they call fuel gas as well, just so you know, they call it gas, but we don't. So when you're at the petrol station, you want to make sure if you are driving a petrol car, you're using petrol and not diesel, because you could break your car. Okay, so other words, we have destination. Your destination is the place that you want to go to. Your destination is the place you're going to. Destination. The pickup point is where you're starting your journey. Where you're starting your journey. So where the passenger starts the journey, their pickup point. So where, if I'm a taxi driver, where would you like me to pick you up? What is the pickup point? And then what is your destination? What is your destination? Thank you, Wati. You said, I have a beautiful necklace. Thank you. This was a gift from a student a long time ago. I like it very much. Thank you. I'm glad you like it too. What is a lorry, says Eman. A lorry is it's like a truck. It's a very large vehicle with big space in the back, and they use it for transporting goods. So a lorry. Is it called a trip or a journey? Both. Both. A trip and a journey. They're the same sort of thing. You go on a journey, you take a trip. Should we put those in? I'll put them down here. Go on a journey, take a trip. Go on a journey and take a trip. Or take a trip. There we go. So where were we? Pickup point. Toll. A toll is a charge for using a road or a bridge. A toll is a charge for using a road or a bridge. Guatam, don't worry that you're late. If you're late, don't worry. It's really not a problem. With these lessons, they stay on this channel forever, so you can always scroll back and watch the beginning part of the lesson later. So a toll. We have many toll bridges here in the UK where you have to pay to cross the bridge. And we have also a number of toll roads. I know the M6, part of the M6 motorway is a toll motorway, and you have to pay to use it, and it's normally faster because not many people do use it. And so you choose whether you can afford to pay that little bit extra in order to get where you're going fast. So let's carry on. Can we use pick up as a single word without space inside, in between? Pick up. I don't think so, actually. Let me have a quick look for you. See, if someone said pick up without a space, I would think of a truck. A pickup truck. Yes, that's what it's coming up as. So if you write pick up without a space between pick and up, then it's referring to a type of lorry. Okay, a type of truck. So, so just be aware of that. Okay, let's carry on. Are taxis in London expensive? They can be. Ubers are better, although Ubers are getting more expensive as well now. You may hear them talk about, if you're in a taxi or if you're using the road, you may hear people talking about an A road or a dual carriageway. And they might say, I have to go down the A road, or do you want me to use the dual carriageway? And just be aware, if you are going to write inappropriate messages in my chat room, then you will be banned from the channel. There are people of all ages here, so please choose your words appropriately, and if you're going to write something disgusting, you'll be kicked out. So just a word of warning for those of you who are considering that. Let's carry on. So an A road or a dual carriageway is a fast road. It's basically a couple of lanes across, and it normally has a divider in the middle. Okay, so then we also have a motorway. A motorway is the UK's fastest road is a motorway, and it's usually 3 lanes on either side of the road. Okay, you can go quite fast on a motorway. So you may talk about cash or card when you're in a taxi. Now a lot of taxis take card. Obviously, when we're talking about cash, we mean money that is in notes or coins. So money that you actually have on you. If we're talking about a card, I'm sure you know, we mean a credit or a debit card. Okay, and as we mentioned earlier, you can go on a trip go on a journey or take a trip. Okay, how is everybody? Are we all okay? Andreas, you can't stay. You'll watch the video later on. That's a shame, but I'm hoping that you'll go and have a good day, whatever it is you're doing. And thank you for joining us for this brief time. Hello, everyone here. How about a highway? We don't really talk about highways here in the UK. Highway is an American word. We have the highway code, which is a book of rules for using the roads. So that's using the word highway, but generally we don't talk about highways. We talk about streets, roads, A roads, dual carriageways, motorways. We don't say highway. How do you say it when a vehicle runs out of fuel? What is the general phrase? Just say I'm out of petrol. I'm out of fuel, I'm out of petrol, or I need to get fuel. I need to get petrol. That's what we generally say. So a highway is a motorway in England. Yes, that's right. Highway is a motorway. Okay, are we good to carry on? Shall I see how many thumbs we have before I do? We have 103 thumbs. Excellent. Let's see if we can get that up to 150 before we end this session. All right, so what is mainway? We don't have anything called mainway. Just so you know, I've never heard that phrase. So we have phrases. Phrases of what I've done is passengers. Hang on, let me remove this actually. Passengers I've written in kind of this pinky purple colour, and then drivers I've written in green. So passengers, when they're inquiring about a taxi, when you're just inquiring, maybe you haven't got in the taxi yet, so you might approach the driver and say, "Hello, are you available?" Just means if a taxi's waiting at the side of the road, they might be waiting for someone they're picking up. Maybe someone's booked the taxi and you're not sure if the taxi is available for you. So you just go up to them and say, "Excuse me, are you available? Are you free?" You might say, "Are you waiting for someone?" And if they say, "No, I'm free, hop in," then that means you can get in. Okay. Obed says, "Do you have backseat driver as an expression in England?" Yes, we absolutely do. A backseat driver is a passenger who likes to be in control of the car. And so they're constantly saying, "Oh, slow down. Oh, careful. Oh, you want to speed up here. Oh, you shouldn't drive like that." Someone who's always giving instruction, annoyingly so, to the driver. They're called a backseat driver and they're very irritating. Okay, so let's carry on. You could say, when you phone up for a taxi perhaps, or when you're in a taxi, you might say, "Can I book a taxi for 3 p.m. please? Or for 3 o'clock please? Can I book a taxi? Can I book a taxi? Or I would like to book a taxi." Okay, you might ask a taxi, "How many people can you take?" Maybe you are in a party of 10 people. Your group includes 10 people and you don't know how many taxis you need to get. You'd like to take a taxi that can take 5 people so that you only need to get 2 taxis, not 4, 2 taxis. And so you say, how many people can you take? The driver might say, "I can only take 4 people." Oh yeah, oh, okay. All right, we'll have to get 3 taxis then. Okay, so how many people can you take? Or another way of saying it is, do you have room for 5 people? Do you have room for however many people? One of you is asking, what's the difference between car and mobile car? I've never heard of a mobile car. All cars are mobile, that's the point. So to be mobile is to be able to move around. So you just have a car. Unless you mean a mobility. A mobility car is a special car that's been changed to aid people with disabilities. So perhaps if I only had one hand, I would need a special car that means I can change my gears maybe on the steering wheel. Or maybe if I'm a much shorter person, I would need the pedals to be raised up so I can reach them without it being a problem. So a mobility car is for disabled people, whereas a normal car is, where a car is just for non-disabled people. All right, let's carry on. We have, do you do airport runs? Do you do airport runs? And this is just basically asking if they take you to the airport. Airports are normally, like my nearest airport is probably at least a 40-minute to 1 hour drive away on the motorway. And so a lot of taxis won't go that far. So you have to just double check before you call them to say, do you do trips to the airport? Do you do airport runs? And usually they'll say yes, because it's good money. If you are doing a trip to the airport, I would always book in advance, and I would always double check before you book it how much they're going to charge. Get a flat fee set up. Don't let them take you on the meter, because that will cost you a fortune. How do you call the extra tyre in Britain? We call it the spare tyre, a spare tyre. But we also call this a spare tyre. So if you have a little bit of an extra bit of skin, this is a spare tyre. So if someone has a little bit more weight on them, and they have a little bit of a fat belly hanging out, then you call it a spare tyre. But that's also what we'd call the extra wheel in a car, a spare tyre. What's the age limit to get a driving licence in the UK? It's 17, I think. Yeah, 17 to drive in the UK. Okay, let's carry on. So I did actually do a lesson about driving. If you want more information about actually driving in the UK, I did a lesson called Drive. So do check that out. Can you take a wheelchair? Perhaps, or can you take a pram? Can you take a pram? So if you're a mother and you have a big pram, or you have a wheelchair, then you would need to check beforehand when you're booking the taxi that they have space for a wheelchair or a pram. Okay? You might say, if you're booking your taxi and you're going to the airport, you might say, we have luggage, will that be okay? So I might say, I have 3 suitcases, will that be okay? And then, yes, we've got plenty of room in the boot, don't you worry. Or he might say, oh no, the car is too small, I'll have to book you a bigger car. When you get into the taxi, you might say, can we go via the shop? Can we go via Princess Street and pick up somebody else? Can we go via a cash point so that I can pick up some cash to pay for you? Okay? So can we go via is what you would say if you need to make a stop en route. Or you could also say, do you mind if we swing by a cash point? So to swing by a, that's the same as to go via. You know, you're driving along and you just swing by a cash point. It's a strange phrasal verb that we use, but we do use it often, to swing by somewhere. If you just need to jump out of the car to go and grab something from the house or to go and grab some cash from the cash point, you could say to the driver, could you just wait here for a few moments? You definitely want to say that to them, actually, because you don't want them to drive off thinking that you're done. But also don't keep a taxi driver waiting for too long, especially if the meter's running, because that will end up costing you a lot of money. But always check. Could you just wait here for a few moments, please? What is a cash point? A cash point is an ATM. It's a machine that gives you cash. You put your card in, you put in your bank details, and it gives you cash. Okay? Do you use via when speaking? Yes, absolutely. So you'd say to the taxi driver, can you go via? Americans say via. We say via. Americans via. British via. Via. You can also say when we're talking about when you're talking about a cash point, you can also say a cash machine. A cash machine. Sometimes we use that as well. Okay. Do the passengers sit on the left or the right in the UK? You drive on the right-hand side of the car, so the passenger sits on the left. Okay. So, what else do we say? You could ask a driver, how long will it take? Say if you've got a train, you have to get the train, and there's a certain train you have to get, and you say, oh, my train actually leaves in 50 minutes. How long, excuse me, how long will it take to get to the station? You might say, oh, in this traffic, it's going to take 10 minutes. And you go, oh, my train leaves in 15 minutes. Oh, that's going to be a bit tight. It's going to be a bit difficult. It's going to be tight for time. Could you please step on it? I wouldn't ever really say that to a taxi driver, but the phrase step on it means to put your foot hard on the accelerator to move faster. It means go faster. Could you step on it, please? But I wouldn't ever say that to a taxi driver. So the taxi driver, when setting up the journey, could say to you, you jump in the car, he could say, where do you want to go to? Where do you want to go? You could say, where do you want to go to? Where do you want to go to? Or where do you want to go? You could say, where are you going? Hello, where are you going? I'm going to the station, please. Okie dokie. He could say, I say he or she. Obviously, there's ladies and gentlemen taxi drivers. But she could say, or he could say, where can I take you? Where can I take you? Or, very formally, what's your destination? Although that doesn't feel very human. What's your destination? It sounds like a machine. If you're not sure, if you say, oh, I'm going to my friend's house. I'm going to my friend's house. It's by the old mill. Do you know the old mill? And if you're confused as a taxi driver, you might say, sorry, do you have an address? Oh, yes, sorry, it's on 33 Princess Street. Ah, okay, yes, I know where that is. Or the taxi driver might ask for a postcode, because now most days you would just put the postcode into a Satnav and the Satnav will know where it is. So he might say, do you have the postcode? Or do you know the postcode? If that fails, they might say, can you direct me? Could you give me directions? That's not often that happens, but it might happen. If, as a taxi driver, you're having trouble understanding your passenger, you might say, please, could you say that slowly for me? Please, could you say that slowly for me? Or, I didn't hear you, please speak up. I didn't hear you, please speak up. Now, if you're going to be very polite and help out your passenger and give them a pleasant experience, if your passenger comes out of their house, you're there to pick them up, they come out of the house and they've got a big suitcase. As a taxi driver, you might say, oh, let me take your case for you. Let me take your bag for you. Let me take that. And you then pick it up and put it into the car, into the boot of the car. So let me take that for you. You could say, I can put that in the boot for you. Or would you like me to put that in the boot for you? If you're talking about where you're going, you might say, oh, I know the best route. Or I know where that is. Yep, don't worry, I know where that is. Here we go. If the journey you're taking goes via a very busy road, if it's very busy during rush hour, for example, you might say to your passenger, oh, you want to go to the train station, that's going to take about half an hour at this time of day. Just to warn them because of the traffic. Or perhaps the route has two options. So the destination, the route to the destination, there's two options of a route, and one route takes you across a bridge, but the bridge has a toll. So you could say to them, we could cross the bridge if you're happy to pay the toll. So normally, if your taxi driver has to go via a toll road or a toll bridge, then they would make sure you pay for it. So they wouldn't cover that. So, do you want me to pick you up afterwards? So if you're dropping someone at a meeting or a party, you could say, do you want me to pick you up afterwards? And they book you for the return journey. And then you might say to them, well, take my card and call me when you're ready to be picked up. That's a good way to make sure you get extra business. If someone's asked you to wait, you might say, oh, please hurry, I can't wait for long. Please hurry, I can't wait for long. Perhaps you're on, perhaps you've pulled over in a place where you can't park. You're like, oh, I might get in trouble if I stay here for too long. Please hurry, I can't wait for long. You might have to ask your passengers to put their seatbelts on. Could you please put on your seatbelt? So this is the phrasal verb that we use. Could you please put on your seatbelt? Or of course, like I said earlier, could you please make sure you wear your seatbelt? Please wear your seatbelt. Or could you put on your seatbelt, please? If someone comes to your window and says, excuse me, mate, can you take me to the train station? He might say, I'm sorry, I'm not available. I'm sorry, I'm not available. Maybe your shift is about to finish or you're waiting for another passenger. I'm sorry, I'm not available. Or I'm about to clock off. To clock off is to finish your shift. So if your shift is from 6 o'clock in the evening till 11 o'clock and someone's knocking on your door at 10 to 11, said, oh, could you take me 20 minutes down the road? I'm sorry, I'm about to clock off. I'm about to finish. That's too far. I can't take you. So I'm about to clock off. Or he could say, I'm done for the day, or I'm done for the night. I'm sorry, I'm done for the day. I'm done for the night. Hello, Julia. Thank you so much, sweetheart. You've just sent me a €2 super chat. That's fantastic. Thank you. For those of you who don't know what super chats are, they are small donations to the channel, to the community. All donations to the channel go back into making this channel better. And just so you know, those of you who have been supporting me up to now with your super chats, they have gone towards the first installment of fiber optic broadband. So in about 3 weeks' time, I've got some technicians that are coming to my new flat to install fiber optic broadband, which means the signal on these sessions will be much better quality, less downtime. So sometimes these videos drop in and out because of my signal. But yes, it means that those of you who have sent super chats so far, your money has gone towards paying for fiber optic to be installed into my new flat. So thank you very much. I'm sure everyone here is going to be very grateful for the results of that. And thank you, Julia. I hope you enjoy the lesson. And of course, as a thank you, I will send you the notes. So I'll do that after the lesson, okay? Let's carry on. How are all my patrons as well? Feel free to send me a message, patrons, in the Skype room. You know I always respond. All right, so passengers. When you're directing, you might say, can you take me or can you take us to? Can you take me? Can you take us to this place? Or I would like to go to the train station. I would like to go to the London Eye. I would like to go to. Or you might just say the destination. So you might literally jump in the taxi and say, the station, please. Or Manchester Airport, please. So you don't even have to give any extra words. You just say the destination and always give a please. Okay. Oh, bless you. Lots of you saying, I'd like to donate. I'd like to donate. Don't worry, if you can't donate, I really don't mind. I'm happy that you're here. Those that can donate, it's such a lovely thing for you to do. But those of you who can't donate, don't worry. I really don't expect anything from you guys apart from you just to be here and enjoy the lesson. You know, if you can, I love a thumb up and I love a subscribe and a share. And some of you have been wonderful at offering translations to my videos. So that's something you can do if you want to give something to the community. Otherwise, please don't worry. I just appreciate your time and your attention. Okay, let's carry on. So, if your taxi driver has now arrived on the road that you that is your destination, but you live further up the road, then you might just say, it's just up here on the left, which means go a bit further up and it's on the left. It's just up here. It's just up here on the left. You might tell the taxi driver to take the next right. If the taxi driver seems a little bit confused or a bit lost, you might say, take the next right. You could say, we live at the top of the road or at the bottom of the road. Both of them pretty much mean the same thing. I live at the end of my road, so I live on the corner. I live on the corner house on my road. Normally, if a taxi comes in at the other end of the road, I would say, oh, I live at the bottom of the road, or I live at the top of the road. Technically, you would say top or bottom, depending on if it's on an uphill climb. So if you live at the top, if it's on a hill, you'd say I live at the top of the hill, I live at the top of the road. If it's at the bottom, then you say I live at the bottom of the hill, I live at the bottom of the road. But if the road is flat, you can say top or bottom, and the taxi driver will know what you mean. It just means at the other end. Or, or you can say, have I lost you? Have I lost you? Can anyone still see me? It's saying that my stream is offline. Oh no, it's back. Okay, great, okay. Whew, I thought I'd lost you for a second there. My computer was being silly. Okay, good, let's carry on. So you can say top or bottom, or you can say I live at the other end. I live at the other end of the road, okay? Right, let's carry on. Sorry, I had a little scare there. Not Skype, YouTube just said, the stream has finished. Ah. Okay, so if your taxi is driving along your road and you're about to pass your house, you can say, oh, just here is fine. Just here is fine. So if you're driving and someone says, just here is fine, it means stop the car, I need to get out. Just here is fine. Please drop me off here. Drop me off here. In fact, I'm going to add that. Drop me off here. That means let me out. Or you could also say, let me out here. Please is always nice. If you are in a hurry, perhaps you're late for a meeting or you need to catch a train, then you'd say, you just let the taxi driver know, I'm in a bit of a hurry. I'm in a rush. I have a train to catch. I would just let them know, just so that they take the quickest route and get you there as fast as they can. Okay? If you need to jump out of the taxi, just for a second, perhaps you're going to get your friend out of the house or you're going to the cash point, you can say, it's all right, you can keep the meter running. So you're telling the taxi driver, it's okay, charge me for this time, just keep the meter running. They normally will anyway, but you can say to them, it's fine, keep the meter running. If the taxi driver's gone to the wrong place, if he's taken the wrong turning, or you need to go back to your pickup point because you've forgotten something, you could say, oh, you need to turn around, I need to go back. You need to turn around, I need to go back. I did it recently. On Saturday night, I took a taxi to a party and we had taken about 15 minutes in our journey. We're 15 minutes down the road and we realised we'd left the present for the birthday girl at home. So we had to say to the taxi driver, could you please turn around? We need to go back and pick up the present. The taxi driver wasn't very happy. Oh dear, never mind, but he was fine. We just gave him some extra money and he was happy. So, if your taxi driver again is not so clear on the route, you might say to him, it's the first exit off the roundabout. It's the second exit off the roundabout. It's the third exit off the roundabout. So if there's 4 exits from a roundabout, and it's the first one, the second one, or the third one, or the fourth, depending how many exits there are off a roundabout, you could help the taxi driver by telling him which exit it is. Or if you're directing him down the road, you could say it's past the next set of traffic lights. It's past the next set of traffic lights. Okay. Great. So, how are we doing? We're nearly on an hour. Let's see how much more we've got left to do. Not too much, not too much. Okay, so stick with me. Hope everyone is all right. Eric says, will this video hit 2,000 likes in the next 20 minutes? Who knows, Eric? What are we up to now? What are we up to now? We are currently on 153 likes. So maybe, who knows? How are we doing in the chat room? What's a roundabout? A roundabout is like the circular bits in the middle of a road. You're driving down the road and you come to a big circle, a big island in the middle, and you drive around it. And then there's a few options of different roads you can take off this circle. Or you can just keep driving round and round in circles if you like. Go round and round the roundabout. Okay. If you are new here and this is your first time, you're trying to learn English and improve, then please do feel free to press that subscribe button so you don't miss any future lessons, and the bell notification button, which will let you know every time I am live, so you can join me here at the right time. But otherwise, let's keep going. So if you're a taxi driver and you are trying to explain to the passengers that you're going to take a while to get to your destination because of traffic, then you could just say, there's a lot of traffic at the moment. There's a lot of traffic at the moment. It might be the case that you're stuck in traffic so badly and you're close to your destination, so you could say to your passenger, it would be faster for you to walk from here. It would be faster for you to walk from here. Or, as a passenger, you could say, look, the traffic's really bad. I'm going to get out and walk from here. How much do I owe you? And you just give them the money they owe you and you get out. Okay? So you'd say, I'm just going to walk from here. I'm just going to walk from here. As a taxi driver, you might explain, there is a traffic jam. There is a traffic jam. A traffic jam is when there's lots of cars queued up, stopped on the road, and they can't go anywhere. A traffic jam. Nobody likes getting caught in a traffic jam. The time that is like really busy on the roads, normally before work, after work, so between like 7:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning and around 4:30 and 6 o'clock in the evening, this is called rush hour. When there's lots of traffic, it's rush hour. Okay? So as a taxi driver, you might say, we're coming into rush hour. So rush hour is about to begin. We are coming into rush hour. Or you might say, our rush hour is nearly over. We'll get there in no time. That means it's nearly finished. Your journey won't take so long. One of you has just asked me, what does owe mean? Sky says, what does owe mean? To owe someone is how much money do you need to give them? So what money is owed? What money do you need to pay? What do I owe you? How much money do you want? As a taxi driver, you might say to your passengers, look, there's lots of traffic. There's a big traffic jam. Let me try a different route. Let me try a different route. I think there's been an accident. You could say, oh, I don't know why there's so much traffic. I think there's been an accident. Or I think a vehicle has broken down. To break down, phrasal verb, to break down is when a car stops. When it's not working, it breaks down. By the way, a rush hour, even though we say hour, is longer than an hour, just in case you're wondering. A rush hour is just the period of time. I don't know why we say hour, because maybe it used to be just an hour, but now it takes longer. Now it's normally a couple of hours. Okay? So, a route has the same meaning of road. No, a road is one specific place. Or the tarmac area that the car drives on. A route is the way you get to a destination. So you might take a route that goes off the road. If you're cycling or if you're walking, you might do a different route. Okay? You might say, there are roadworks going on at the moment. That's why there's so much traffic. There are roadworks going on. Okay, so when we come to the end of a journey, one of you just asked me about tipping. Tipping in the UK is not as popular as it is in other countries. It's not expected. You can tip a taxi driver, and normally people tip because they can't be bothered to wait for the change. They just want to get out and go. So normally you'd give them a note. Say if it's £4.50 for the journey, you give them a £5 note. If you normally would just leave them with the extra 50p, and that's a tip. Sometimes they'll have a little pot in the back of the taxi that says tips, and you can put some tips in it. I don't know about Uber. Can you tip on Uber? Can you do a tip on the Uber app? I'm not sure if you can. Let me know if you know. but it's not expected. It's not expected for you to tip a taxi driver. So at the end of the journey, let's talk about the fares. We know what fares are. Fare is the amount of money you owe for the journey, for the service. So you say, how much is it to? So if you don't want to get into the taxi until you know how much the entire journey will be, then you might ask beforehand, how much is it to the station? How much is it to go to Victoria Road? When you finish the journey and you're about to get out, you say, how much was that? Sorry, how much was that? And then they tell you it's however much. You might have to say to them, do you have change? Look, I've only got a £50 note. Do you have change? Hopefully they will have change. You might say to them, do you take card? Which means, do you take a credit card or a debit card? A word of warning though, I would not get into a taxi without checking if you don't have cash. So if you don't have cash, you've only got credit cards, check before you get into the taxi that they do take card, because not all taxis take cards yet. Some do, but always check. Excuse me, do you take card? And they say, yes, great. Can you take me to the station? Okay. So you might say more specifically, do you have change for a tenner? A tenner is a £10 note. Or you might say, do you have change for a 20? A 20 is a £20 note. Let's write this in. And then, like we said, you could say to them, keep the change, or you could say, keep it, don't worry about it. If they're starting to pass you money, now keep it, don't worry. If you don't have enough money, then you can say, oh, I'm a bit short, I'm afraid. I'm a quid short. A quid is a pound. Or I'm 50p short, which means I'm 50p away from having the correct money. So you want £4.50, but I've only got £4. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm 50p short. I'm 50p short. And the taxi driver might say, oh, right, don't worry about it. Or they might say, well, you owe me 50p. So I'm going to have to take you to a cash point and you're going to have to get some more money out. Okay? So keep the change. Don't worry about the change. That's exactly the same as saying keep it. Don't worry about the change. And then, of course, as you're getting out, it's always nice to say, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you leave. Now, as the taxi driver, as you pull up to the passenger's destination, you might just turn around and say, that's £5, please. That's £10, please. If the passenger hands you £20 or a £50 note and you don't have change, you'll say, oh, do you have anything smaller? So if your passenger's passed you £50 for a £4.50 journey, you might say, have you got anything smaller? Because I don't have that much money and change with me. Or if I give you all my money, I'll have no change for the next passenger. Have you got anything smaller? And they might say, oh, I've got a £20 note. Will that do? That's better. So do you have anything smaller? Do you have a smaller note? If your passenger tips you, then you might say, thanks for the tip. If the passenger gives you a £20 note and you don't have change and you say, I'm afraid I don't have any change, do you have the correct money? If you have only change, so if the passenger gives you a £20 note for your £4.50 journey and you can't give them a £10 and a £5 note and 50p, you have to give it all in pound coins, lots of coins in their hands, they might be like, what? And they say, look, I'm sorry, I've got no notes. I'm sorry for all the small change. Sorry about that. Your taxi driver might warn you, just be careful when you open the door. As anybody who drives will know, if you are opening the door onto the road, you have to be careful to make sure there's no one driving past or cycling past when you open the door, because they might drive into the door or you might knock a cyclist over. So your taxi driver, as he pulls up, might say, just be careful when you open the door. He might even say to you, it will be safer if you exit on the right or on the left, depending. It'll be safer if you exit on the right or left. It's also nice for a taxi driver to remind you as you get out of the car, do you have everything? Because there's nothing worse than leaving your phone or your bag or a gift that you're taking to a party in the taxi as the taxi drives away. Okay, do you have everything? You might simply say, don't forget your bag. If you see that they've forgotten something, don't forget your bag, or don't forget your hat, don't forget your phone. If they say thank you, it's nice for you to say you're welcome. You are welcome or you're welcome. You could say to them, have a nice day. Or you could say, enjoy your trip. If you've just dropped them at the airport and they're off on holiday, you could say, enjoy your trip. And you might say, hope to see you again. And if you're trying to drum up business for the future, you might give them a card and say, here is my card in case you need me in future or in the future. Now, the very last bit, we are just about to finish. So I'm just going to finish here now and then I'll take a few questions. So if you've got any questions, just bear with me a few more moments and we'll get there. Hello, if you're just joining. You can catch up with the rest of the lesson just by scrolling back and seeing that. But we're just going to talk about some small talk. So if you're in places like at the hairdressers or in a taxi, especially in London or in the UK, then it's expected that there's a bit of small talk. And small talk refers to general chit-chat, to just be friendly and pass the time. Small talk. To make small talk. So we make small talk. Now, to make small talk, you might ask the following questions. How are you today? And you might say, I'm very well, thank you. I'm very excited about going on holiday. And then you start talking about the holiday. Or you could say, if you're dropping someone off at the airport or at the train station, you could say, are you going anywhere nice? Are you going anywhere nice? Oh, well, actually, I'm going off to Mumbai. Or I'm going off to Croatia. Oh, that's lovely, very exotic. How long are you there for? Well, I'm there for 3 weeks. Wow, that's going to be a wonderful holiday for you. You might say to the taxi driver, have you been working in London for long? And you can say, yes, well, I've been in London all my life, but I've only just started driving a taxi. Or, yes, I've been a taxi driver here in London for a very long time. Are you allowed to smoke in a taxi in London? No. You're not allowed to smoke. You're not allowed to smoke indoors anywhere in London, and you're not allowed to smoke in cars. Obviously, you can smoke in your own car, but because a taxi is a public thing and it's a workspace, you're not allowed to smoke. Which I personally am glad about because I don't smoke and I don't like it, so I'm happy about that. You could say in your small talk, are you working all evening? So I often say this, if a taxi driver picks me up late, I'm like, are you working all evening or are you about to finish? They might say, oh, I'm working till 4 in the morning. And I'll say, oh, that's very late. Do you do that often? Yes, every Friday. Oh, okay. You might say to someone, have you had a good day so far? Oh, wonderful. Sasha, thank you so much. So Sasha has just sent over a super chat saying hello from Poland. Hello. Hi. Anna, you are the best teacher. Thank you, Sasha. That's very, very sweet. Don't forget that as a thank you for your super chat, you are entitled to these 6 pages worth of notes. So those of you who sent me super chats, Julia, Ella, Sasha, Julia, obviously I have you on my WhatsApp group as a gold member, so I know how to send you the notes. But Ella and Sasha, if you can just remind me with a little email to my email address to send you the notes, and then I can forward them straight on to you as soon as the lesson's finished. My email address is in the description of this video. I would ask that only those who've sent me a super chat, Sasha and Ella, please send me an email, but everybody else, please don't send me an email. Honestly, I get so many emails, and as much as most of them are lovely, they just slow down my work because they're normally just saying, hi, hello, and it just takes a long time to go through them all. So please, if you sent me a super chat, feel free to email me and I'll send you the notes. But otherwise, please keep your comments and everything to public forums like Facebook and YouTube, and I'll try to respond to you if I can. All right, let's finish off this small talk. We're nearly there. We've got, what do you think of the weather today? If you've been in my lessons for any amount of time, then you'll know we English like to speak about the weather. It's almost a daily routine for us to mention the weather once or twice. Oh, it's great weather today. Oh, it's terrible weather. What do you think of the weather? The weather today is not very bright. It's warm, but it's not very bright. There's no sun. It's all cloudy. It's overcast, we would call it. So when you're in a taxi, it makes sense to say, what do you think of the weather? Isn't the weather lovely at the moment? Or, oh, it's hot, isn't it, at the moment? So you can make conversation about the weather. And finally, you could say to someone, are you local? Which just means, are you from round here? And that's a good way to set off conversation. You might say, well, no, actually, I'm from Ireland. Oh, you're from Ireland. I went there once. And what brought you to London? You know, so that's an easy way to start conversation. Of course, if you are a passenger or a taxi driver and you're trying to make small talk, but the other person doesn't seem to be responding with big answers, then it might be that they don't want to talk. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they've got a lot on their mind. Maybe they need to concentrate or focus for something. So if they don't seem very responsive to your small talk, then maybe take the hint. Something I've forgotten, actually, which I should add. A taxi driver should perhaps ask, let me know if it's too hot or too cold. Do you mind if I put the radio on? These are just little things that a taxi driver could say to the passengers in order to just make sure that they're okay with the aircon on or with the windows open. You might ask the taxi driver, could you turn the music down? Or could you close your window? Do you mind turning the heating down, perhaps, or up, if you're cold or hot? So anything like that you could request, and the taxi driver, of course, wants you to have a very comfortable journey, so they probably will do as you've asked. Okay? Fabulous. Well, there you go. All those notes are heading over to those of you who've sent over super chats. Thank you so much. I do hope that you guys have found this lesson helpful. Don't forget to feel free to leave a comment. As I am still here live now, I will spend the next few minutes answering questions. So if you have any questions about what we've just talked about or anything in general, I will try to answer them right now. So fire away. But if you're about to leave me, then let me just say one last thing. Please do make sure you press subscribe and that bell notification button. Don't forget, I am also on social media, and that is the best place to find out when my next live lessons are. So if you're not already with me on Facebook or on Instagram, where I do regular pronunciation posts for free, then please do come and join me there. The links are in the description box below. There are lots of other links there, links to my other YouTube channels. Yes, I have 3 other YouTube channels, so feel free to explore. I also have put links down there for you to get a free Uber ride. If you haven't already signed up for the Uber app, you can use the link below and get a free ride on me. There's also many other links down there for you to find resources, free trials, things like Audible trials for 30 days where you can listen to audiobooks for free for 30 days, movies free for 30 days, music, lots of things down there for you, as well as products that I recommend as well. So lots of stuff down there. Go and check it out. Now, questions. What are we saying? So let me scroll back a bit. I always ask to turn the music down in the taxi, says Jana. Yeah, I don't mind music in the taxi as long as it's not too loud. I would like to ask you, why is the super chat not available in my area? I don't know, I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that. If you are wanting to contribute but you can't give super chats or you can't join the patrons, my patrons are people who donate on a regular basis, and in return they get rewarded. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can use the link below to find out more. But if you can't do those things, then you can always contribute your language. So I'm always looking for translations in your language. So you can use the link below. Hopefully it's working. I think someone mentioned the other day it's not working, but hopefully it is. And you can have a look to see what needs translating, whether it's titles, whether it's subtitles. And there are over 100 videos on this channel. So, yes. Oh, it doesn't seem to be showing anything up. I'll double check that. I'll double check the link. Anyway, what else do we have? How should I call the taxi driver when you need to hail a taxi? Just shake my hand at him and let him know, or yell, taxi! You can just shout, taxi, taxi. Yeah, and that's what we do. We just shout taxi. Mahmood, how can I join Skype? You need to be a patron. So if you check out the Patreon campaign page, then every patron gets to join the Skype group. Okay, let's have a look. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. For those of you who send me really sweet messages, thank you. I do appreciate it. Julia says, Anna, do you have a car? Do you drive? And do you prefer a taxi, a bus, or the underground? I have a car. I've always had a car. I think it's important to have your independence. And most of my family live a long way away, like a 6-hour drive away. So for me, it's important to have a car so I can access my family when I need to. I've been a driver since I was 17 years old. Do I prefer taxis, bus, or underground? I actually prefer to cycle when I can. I don't really like to take the underground, but I do. Sometimes it's necessary. I don't really like taking a bus either. I don't mind taking the bus, I just don't like waiting for a bus. Because I'm so busy, I don't like to waste time waiting. So I guess a taxi is preferable, but taxis are more expensive, so I don't do taxis very often. Hope that answers your question. Pick and drop service, what is that? A pick and drop service, I haven't heard this phrase often, but I'm guessing it's where you phone someone up and ask them to go and pick up an item and drop it off for you. So you can do that. You can do it with Uber. I've had an Uber go to my housemate to pick up keys to drop them with me where I was because I once lost my keys. So the Uber went and did the delivery for me, and nobody rode in the taxi. The taxi just picked it up and dropped it off, and you pay for that service. Is cycling safe in London? Safe with an F, that is S-A-F-E, safe. As a Dutchie, we cycle everywhere. Cycling is becoming safer. There are more and more provisions being put in place for cyclists. So cycle superhighways, cycle lanes, they're making roads wider, they're making cycle pathways, they're putting up more campaigns and more awareness for drivers to be aware of cyclists. So it is getting better for cyclists, yes. Underground, metro and subway, can you tell me the difference? Ooh. Well, the underground goes underground. The metro, I think, runs on rails with electric, but potentially is overground. And a subway is an American version of the underground. That's what I think, off the top of my head, and that's what I think the difference is. What's the difference between I could and I can? I can is I'm able to. I can do a cartwheel. I can cycle. These are things I am able to do. Could tends to be more conditional. So I could buy you some flowers if I had enough money, but I don't have money. So I could pick you up if you wanted me to. So could generally is a conditional. There's usually an if. I could if. I can, I'm able to. Yes, I can. I can. Okay. What else? I tried to translate one of your videos to Portuguese. When you say you tried, does that mean it didn't work for you? I tell you what you can do. If you want to translate and that translates my video link isn't working, you can go to any video on my channel And when you visit, let me just get it up. When you visit the video, down below the video, hang on, let me just find it. Do 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 do, ba ba ba. Here's some filler music. Just wait with me. Just bear with me while I do this. Does anyone else here sing? Anyone else into music? All right. So let's say I'm going to translate my fitness video. I go to the fitness video, which I think was a good lesson. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. I go to my fitness video, and down below, where it says below the title, where it says add to, and you can add it to a playlist. You have share, which you should definitely click that one. Then you have more. If you click on more, at the bottom of that drop-down menu, you have add translations. So you can click on that and you can add translations from there. So if you go to any video you want to translate, go to more, add translations. That's how you can do it. I will look into the translation link very soon. But thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for those of you who've already offered translations. You guys are awesome. All right. Further questions. Is there specific colours for taxis in London? Interesting. In America, they have yellow cabs. So most taxis, I know when I've been to New York, most taxis there are yellow. We don't have yellow taxis here in the UK. We have black cabs, which are the more expensive ones in London, but you find them, they're more available. So if you're desperate, get a black cab. Some of them have the Union Jack on, have this pattern on. Some of them are red, but a lot of cars are like private cars, so they're just normal colours, like silver or white or black. I think Metro is just another version coming from another language. Yeah, I think Metro. We have a Metro in Manchester. They have a Metro, I think, which is just a tram. It's a tram. It's an overground train. Please pronounce caramel, like the sweet toffee, caramel. For a tourist in London, it is interesting to use the Oyster card. Yes, so the Oyster card, I think, is going to kind of go out of fashion because now we're using pay-as-you-go. So we have not the chip and pin, we have a pay-as-you-go, where you can just put your card on the card reader and it scans it automatically and takes payment automatically, as well as on your phone now. Sometimes you can use your phone to just tap. So it's tap in and out. You just tap in with your card. If you are a visitor and you don't have a pay-as-you-go kind of card where you can just tap it with your bank card, then you buy an Oyster card. Oyster card, you top up with money at the machines and then you just tap in and out on the Oyster machines. It's quite easy once you know how. You say notes for money. Is that the word? Yes. So if you have lots of bank notes, so £20 notes, £10 notes, £5 notes, £50 notes, if you're rich, that we refer to them as notes. Okay. Do Americans pronounce the TH the same as the British accent? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. F and V. Here in my city, taxis are always white. Oh, okay, and that's in I don't know how to pronounce that. Manaus, Amazonas in Brazil. Sorry, I probably pronounced that awfully. Which transport is cheaper? You don't say more cheaper, Julia. We just say cheaper. Which transport is cheaper for tourists? The cheapest transport is cycling and walking. You can hire bikes in central London. You can use what we call Boris bikes, I think we call them. But you can hire bikes. It's usually the cheapest way to get around, or you can walk, or it's quite cheap to take the underground or the bus. The bus is cheaper than the underground, I think. The underground is faster, and taking taxis is the most expensive. Your English is like the Queen's English. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. Any other questions? I'm going to give a couple more minutes and then I'm going to go. Patrons, I hope you're all right there, and the chat room's very quiet. Hope you're all well. Where is the London Eye? The London Eye is on the South Bank, which is on the River Thames, and it's very near, it's near Big Ben, and it's near Westminster, or it's near Waterloo. It's near Waterloo and Waterloo Bridge. and that's about 20 minutes on the train from here, where I am now. Shared biking is very popular in China. I think cycling is a great way forward. More people should cycle. It's very good for your health and it's good for the environment. Do you know how to say something in Portuguese? Obrigado. It's probably the only thing I know in Portuguese. Which city is more beautiful, London or Manchester? I can't really compare. There are beautiful places in Manchester and there are beautiful places in London. I can't really choose one. Can I ask for an arbitration lesson? I don't really know much about the subject, but I will add it to the list and I'll look into it for you. What is the right way to pronounce bore, boring and bored? Bore, boring and bored. Okay? All right. Thank you so much, my darlings. I'm going to leave it just there at an hour and a half. I think this lesson is long enough. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's see, before we go, how many thumbs do we have? We have 180 thumbs. Woohoo! Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining. Do feel free to have a look at some of my other lessons. I'm trying my best to produce as many as I can for you. If you do have any suggestions of lessons that you would like, of things that you're struggling with, then please feel free to put it in the comments box and I will have a look into it. I do read all of your comments. I'm sorry if I can't get back to all of you. It is just impossible to answer every single comment, but I try my best and I do always read them. So please do comment and know that I will take on board everything that you say. And do come and join me on social media. My Instagram account is very small. There's only like 4,500 of you there when I have 40,000 of you here. So come and join me on Instagram. I'm doing lots of very different things there that you won't see anywhere else. So it'll help you with your pronunciation. Come join me. Links are in the description box below. All right, my darlings, take care. I will hopefully see you tomorrow. I'm going to try and do a lesson tomorrow. I will see you there very soon. Here, tomorrow. I don't know what the lesson's going to be about yet, but I'll work it out. I must go and have a cup of tea now. I'm quite tired. Okay. Mwah. Mwah. Love from London. Take care.